I didn't shout when he said it. I didn't even blink. People expect rage when they betray you. They expect noise, but I learned long ago that silence is more dangerous. The room hummed with the sterile chill of corporate air conditioning, the kind that never lets you forget you are replaceable. He stood there, polished, entitled, rehearsed. His father's jawline, but none of his father's strategy. "Clean out your desk," he repeated. I placed the token on the table like it was a confession, a tiny device, a decade of trust. 20 minutes before every transfer time's out, I said softly. He heard the words, but not the warning. He never hears anything that isn't about him. I met his father 9 years ago in the Chicago office. Back then, I was the young analyst who still believed loyalty was a currency that held value. Richard Harlan shook my hand, looked me in the eye, and told me trust was the backbone of finance. I believed him. I built his treasury system like a spine, rigid, clean, impossible to fracture without me feeling it. I watched his son, Connor, grow into the chair he didn't earn, watched him smirk his way through meetings, confident because someone else had built the floor beneath him. Still, I protected the company. Still, I approved every wire above $5 million because I thought loyalty meant something. But betrayal doesn't arrive with thunder. It arrives with patterns. The first sign came 3 months ago. Connor's college buddy, overdressed, underqualified Tyler Brooks, started showing up everywhere. Meetings he didn't belong in. Conversations he hadn't earned. Casual questions that weren't casual at all. How exactly does the approval bypass work again? When you're on leave, who handles the authorizations? You ever think about taking a break? I noticed the shift the way a surgeon notices a tremor, subtle, dangerous. Then came the email chain forwarded to me by mistake. One line sealed everything. Once he's out, we'll migrate the system. Dad won't even notice. I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. A different version of me would have confronted them, but I'm not that man anymore. I didn't fight. I planned. I ran an internal audit. Not for the company, but for myself. Every outdated dependency, every process only I understood, every timed function that relied on a human key. I isolated the vulnerabilities they'd never patched because they trusted me too much to imagine I could ever be a threat. I didn't sabotage anything. I simply returned everything to its default state. The truth is, systems fall apart naturally when the person holding them together lets go. My revenge wasn't destruction, it was absent. And now we were here, in the corner office on the 42nd floor of the Denver headquarters, where I had grown old, being dismissed by a boy who still believed power came from a name. He pocketed the token like he had just won something. "You'll be fine," he said. "We all move on." He didn't understand that I already had. I walked out without looking back, not because I was defeated, but because I had already set the clock in motion. He had 20 minutes. 20 minutes before every high-value wire his father needed to approve, end-of-quarter settlements, international obligations, bonded commitments, would hang in limbo. 20 minutes before the liquidity chain froze like a blocked artery. 20 minutes before his father asked the only question that mattered, "Where is the man who understands the system?" I reached the lobby by the time the first message hit my phone. 10 minutes left. Treasury queue rising, 7 wires pending, all above $30 million. I stepped into the street like a man released from a sentence he didn't know he was serving. The second message came as I crossed Larimer Square. 4 minutes. CEO requesting override. System denies. Approval key missing. I didn't answer. The last message wasn't a notification. It was a call. Richard Harlan, a voice I hadn't heard shaken in years. "What happened?" he asked. "Your son fired me," I said. A long silence. Then, "Can you come back?" "I could," I replied, "but I won't, because loyalty is a currency, and they had already spent mine. I didn't watch the company unravel. I didn't need to. They would fix it eventually. Hire consultants. Rebuild processes, maybe even redesign the entire treasury pipeline. But they would never rebuild what they destroyed today, a safeguard disguised as a man, a system disguised as an employee. And as I walked away down 16th Street, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, not triumph, relief. Because sometimes revenge isn't a blow. Sometimes it's the sound of a door closing behind you while the world you supported collapses without your hands holding it up. And the collapse isn't your crime, it's their confession.